Hello everyone, I'm Ken Winner, and I wanted to put together this demo of a construct I've written for the AWS CDK called the CDK AppSync Transformer, and also highlight a fun new way of generating all of your React query hooks automatically. So this is going to be broken up into kind of two parts. So first we need to go ahead and grab the repo, which you can check the description. This will have everything you need for the front end and the back end. This project uses projen. If you're not familiar, you can check it out, but it will set up our backend and our front end, uses the sub project. So you can do npx projen, or you can alias it and just type pj, and it'll go ahead and start downloading all of our dependencies for us. Inside you can see the projen RC, and here we have our TypeScript app using the CDK. You can see the dependencies, the CDK version, and then here you can see our front-end React project and the dependencies required for that. So we're using React Query version 2 for this. However, I have an open pull request that will hopefully be merged in soon to support React Query v3, and it also cleans up a couple other things. You can check out my blog post or the PR if you're interested, but hopefully we will see that shortly. Down here, I've also created a few helper scripts and tasks. So generating the AWS exports runs this generate exports file, and then also copying our schema, generating our statements, and the code gen that we use to kind of push all of that together. Here you can see projen's finished up, so now we can just call yarn deploy. This will probably take 2 or 3 minutes, but it's going to deploy all of our AWS resources for us. And inside of that, you can look at the stack. So here we've created a stack called demo stack, and if we take a look at that, it's creating a user pool with some standard attributes, a user pool client, an identity pool for unauthenticated access, and then here, the AppSync Transformer, which is the construct that I've written. So you give it a schema, an API name if you would like, and then you set up your authorization config. So we're saying user pool allow, and then we're also setting up IAM access. And then for our unauthorized role, we're giving it access to list posts and get post. And then we have a few exports that we need so that when we generate our exports for the Amplify.js config, we'll have those available to us. Here is our schema, and you can see post, which calls app model and at auth, so owner and then public IAM access. It has an ID, a title, content, and username. I've also built HTTP directive support, so we are using this JSON placeholder, and it's just some generated to-dos for you that have a user ID, a title, completed. Pretty simple example schema, but it's going to show off the different features of the AppSync Transformer, and if you're familiar with AWS Amplify, it'll give you pretty much the same experience. On our front end, you can see that we have the generate exports, which will grab the stack and then grab those output keys, and then it'll generate your AWS exports.js. We've also added the Amplify base types so that we can have all of the scalars and directives that AWS Amplify uses and AppSync uses. So Cognito user pools, IAM, etc. And then here is where we have our Codegen file for GraphQL code generator. This tells us we want to use anything called .graphql, and that's because when we run the Codegen, it's going to copy the schema here, and then it'll combine both of these so that our directives and scalars are available. And then our documents are going to be in GraphQL and this folder. We're going to use the TypeScript plugin, the operations plugin, and the React Query plugin. And then our fetcher is this custom Amplify fetcher that I've written. And then when it's all done, we're going to pretty it up. So here's the custom fetcher. I've implemented this singleton style of using the Amplify API because I have unauthorized logins available, and then once you log in, I also want to do that, but I don't want to have to call that every single time I make a call. So we have this public async query, it determines the auth mode, and then we'll pass that in for you. So the custom fetcher is a wrapper around that, and we basically just call api.getInstance. We wait for our response, and then return that data. Pretty simple wrapper around Amplify API. If you don't want to support unauth, then you could just take this operation down here in the query, not pass the auth mode, and you could drop it up here, and then it'll be even simpler. Now that this is done deploying, we're going to jump into our front end, and then we're going to run generate exports. Now we can see our AWS exports file. You can see the GraphQL endpoint, the region, the default authentication type, and the web client and identity pool ID. So this gets pulled in by our app right here when we call configure, and then your API will be set up using the Amplify.js libraries. Now we want to run Codegen. So this is going to take our schema and then build our API file. So here you can see this uses React Query v2, so mutation config and query config. If you want to make this work with v3, I do have a branch called v3 demo that kind of outlines some of that, and also my blog post does as well. So here you can see it's generated our queries for us using React v2. Use list post query, use query, and then our Amplify fetcher. So to call this, we can go into our post component, use list post query, and then here's our data is loading, refetch, etc. And then here's our code. So let's go ahead and give this a run. Run dev. And we're going to hop over here to our site. While that's loading. There is a slight issue with mutations right now. So here I am not using the custom use create post mutation, and I'm just using the basic React Query use mutation. My pull request for v3 fixes this, so it'll be cleaned up, and then you should just be able to run that, and it'll work out of the box. Still setting up. Inside of our API, it should have everything set up, all the queries set up that we had in our schema. So use list posts, use get to do query, and then update posts. We've got the to-dos and everything. So if you look at the generated schema from the AppSync Transformer, if I can find it, it goes to this AppSync file. Here are the resolvers, and then your schema.graphql. So here's the base schema. 23 lines. Here's what it generates for you. 128 lines of schema, give or take white space. So it sets up all of your IAM auth, your Cognito user pool auth, and then builds the different filters and sorts, your subscriptions, mutations, and your queries. Here we don't have mutations for the post or the to-dos because we didn't actually set that up in our schema. If you pop over here, we only set up list and get because it's a public endpoint and we don't pass anything. And then we've also got our list posts and get post. To set up a user, One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 0. Create our account, pull up my phone so that we can get our code. And we're in. So here's our really basic simple demo. We've got a post page and a to-dos page. You can already see it working right now with our to-dos. We're calling that use list to-dos query. And here it just pulls all of the to-dos together and then lists them all out. Pretty simple. And then for our mutations, as I said, here we go. We're going to just say React query demo post and then some arbitrary content. Create post, and here we go. You can see that we created one post. We can create another and another and another. We can sign out. And everything is still there. So that's the pretty simple demo and explanation. You can get all of these React queries out of the box with very little configuration or code management. And you can do this without the CDK AppSync Transformer. You can do this with AWS Amplify. You can do this with some other way you're deploying your schema. I just wanted to highlight the power of combining all of these things together, and you can write 23 lines of schema, your CDK configuration, and then you get all of this generated. You can focus on your front-end code. You can focus on other problems in your business. So thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoyed the demo walkthrough. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter, GitHub, or check out the blog. Thank you.